My name is Emma Rivera, and for most of my adult life, my mornings were all the same. Same bus. Same coffee shop. Same crowded street corner. But there was one part of my routine that became different. A small moment that, without me realizing it, would change my entire life. Every morning, on the corner of 32nd and Maple Street, sat a homeless man. Thin, tired-looking, wearing a faded army jacket that seemed older than me. He never begged loudly. Never asked for money. He just sat there with a quiet dignity, almost like he didn't want to disturb the world rushing around him. For months, I passed by him without a second glance. I was too busy, too stressed, too wrapped up in my own problems. Until one morning, when I accidentally dropped my breakfast sandwich. He picked it up, dusted the wrapper, and handed it back to me with the softest smile. "You dropped this," he said. That was the first time I really saw him. His name was Samuel. And helping him every morning felt small, but meaningful. I just didn't know he was hiding a truth bigger than anything I could have imagined. After that first interaction, I started noticing details I had missed before. Samuel always sat with a book, sometimes a classic, sometimes something historical, sometimes poetry. His clothes were old but clean. His posture upright. He said good morning to everyone, even those who ignored him completely. One morning, I bought 2 coffees instead of 1. When I handed him the extra cup, he looked surprised, almost embarrassed. "For me?" he asked. "Yes. Unless you want to trade?" I joked. He laughed, a warm, slow laugh, as if it had been a long time since he'd used it. From then on, bringing him breakfast became our routine. Sometimes we talked. Sometimes we just shared a quiet moment. He told me stories, not about his past, but about books, cities he loved, and the people he met on the street. He never complained. Never asked for anything. He refused larger bills and always insisted on returning any change he thought was too much. But what struck me most was how educated he sounded. His vocabulary. His references. His ability to see people so clearly. Once, he said, "You walk like someone carrying too much on the inside." It startled me. Because he was right. Samuel wasn't like anyone I'd ever met. One rainy Tuesday, I arrived at my office building, an old brick structure downtown, and found a crowd gathered in front of it. At first, I thought it was a fire drill, or maybe a protest. But everyone seemed confused, murmuring, pointing at a black luxury SUV parked at the curb. Then I saw him. Samuel. But not like I'd ever seen him before. He was standing beside the SUV, wearing clean clothes, a crisp buttoned shirt, dark slacks, polished shoes. His hair was trimmed. His posture even straighter. He looked different. Not homeless. Not forgotten. But important. Like a man who was used to being respected. At first I didn't recognize him. And then he smiled that same soft smile. "Good morning, Emma," he said. My brain refused to process it. Was this a joke? A social experiment? Some kind of prank? Before I could speak, the building manager rushed toward him. "Mr. Hartman. We weren't expecting you today." "Mr. Hartman?" Samuel, my Samuel, nodded politely. I decided to stop by unannounced. The building manager turned pale. My heart pounded as understanding slowly broke through. Samuel wasn't homeless. He wasn't a stranger on the sidewalk. He was the owner of the entire building. I stood there frozen, rain dripping from my hair, clutching my bag like it was the only solid thing left in the world. Samuel, no, Mr. Hartman, walked toward me slowly. "I was going to tell you eventually," he said, voice gentle. I just wasn't ready yet. My mouth felt dry. "You, why? Why were you out there? On the corner?" He sighed deeply, the kind of sigh that carries years of weight. I wasn't homeless in the way you think. Not exactly. 15 months ago, I stepped down from my company after losing someone close to me. I couldn't stay in the world I built. Everywhere I looked, I saw reminders. Pressure. Expectations. So I left. I wanted to understand people again. To be small for a while. He looked at me with a sincerity that felt like a punch to the chest. You were the first person who didn't treat me like I was invisible. You didn't give me money, you gave me time. You talked to me like I mattered. I didn't know what to say. Part of me felt betrayed. Another part wanted to hug him. And another part understood. He wasn't running from poverty. He was running from pain. After explaining himself, Samuel invited me inside. Employees stared as we walked through the lobby, him, composed and confident, me, still processing everything. We sat in a conference room with glass walls overlooking the city. It felt surreal. Just hours earlier, I'd handed him a warm croissant on a street corner. Now he was sitting opposite me like a CEO. I owe you an apology, he said softly. I never meant to deceive you. I just liked being seen without people knowing my name. I wasn't angry, I admitted. Just shocked. He nodded. And there's something else I want to say. He slid a small folder across the table. Inside was a job offer. A real one. A big one. I've watched you rushing to work every morning, exhausted, underpaid, trying to stay afloat in a job that doesn't appreciate you. I don't want to reward you for kindness, that would cheapen both of us. But I do want to offer you an opportunity. Because you are smart, compassionate, and stronger than you think. I looked up, stunned. I want you on my team, he continued. Not because you helped me, but because you saw me. In that moment, I realized something. Sometimes helping someone leads you exactly where you're meant to be. I didn't accept the job right away. I needed time. Time to think, to breathe, to understand the gravity of what was happening. But Samuel didn't rush me. He texted once. Take the time you need. I trust your choice. A week later, I accepted. Walking into my first day felt like stepping into another life, one where people greeted me with respect, where my ideas mattered, where I didn't feel like I was drowning. Samuel introduced me to the team not as the girl from the street corner, but as someone he believed in. Working with him was nothing like I expected. He wasn't a distant owner. He was patient, wise, and surprisingly humble. He often sat with interns at lunch, asked janitors about their families, and treated everyone as if their story mattered. One afternoon, as we walked past the lobby windows, I noticed he paused, looking out toward the corner of 32nd and Maple Street. You miss it? I asked. He shook his head slowly. No. But I'll never forget it. That corner taught me more about people than money ever did. I understood. Because that corner had changed my life, too. A year later, everything feels different. I'm in a job I love. I'm surrounded by people who value me. And I've learned that kindness, small, simple kindness, can reshape lives in ways we never expect. Samuel eventually told the whole company the truth about his time on the street corner. Not out of guilt, but out of gratitude. He wanted people to know that even the strongest among us sometimes break, and that the smallest gestures can help rebuild someone silently falling apart. But here's what he told only me. I didn't return to my life because I was ready. I returned because someone reminded me that people still care. That meant more than any job offer ever could. Now, every morning, I stop at that same corner, not because he's there, but because I want to remember where everything changed. Sometimes life gives us tests disguised as strangers. And sometimes the people we help end up helping us even more. If I learned anything from Samuel, it's this. Never underestimate the power of seeing someone, truly seeing them. You never know who they really are. or how far that kindness will take you.